2.
2 missiles locked.
Fire.
Missiles away.
Nice. Play Awesome Mix. Next song. There we go. Hey guys, and welcome to my first ever YouTube tutorial video. And today I'm going to be talking about the some advanced techniques you can use to make some pretty clever VoiceAttack profiles. I use VoiceAttack for Star Citizen, which is an amazing game. Check it out if you haven't already. Also, people use it for Elite Dangerous, which is also a pretty great game. I'm more of a Star Citizen fanboy though, so that's what I use it for. And I've had lots of people ask me how I'm doing some of the clever stuff that my VoiceAttack profile does, including how to control music, which is the focus for this. There are plenty of great tutorials already out there for how to get set up with VoiceAttack and how to load profiles, so I'm not going to go over that stuff. And if you do want a great profile, you should check out, for Star Citizen, you should check out Anna, which was made by a Star Citizen community member, and it's amazing. It's what he's done. Right, let's get started. For VoiceAttack, you need to go to voiceattack.com to download the actual client. It's going to cost you $8 to purchase it. So worth that money. So worth that money. So you'll download it. You want to get the beta version. Like I said, these videos tell you how to do all this. You need to train your voice. Once you've done all that, you'll have VoiceAttack here. You've got to make sure that you run it as administrator. So here we go. We have VoiceAttack. It's running as administrator. We've made sure to select the Star Citizen window in the running process send input to. You'll only be able to select that when Star Citizen is running, so I'm not going to mess with that right now. But this allows us to or this ensures that all the commands go to the Star Citizen window, which allows us to do all the input keys and stuff. Okay, basic commands. So when you click on edit a profile there, in here it allows you to add new commands. Now new commands are pretty easy to add. So I'm going to go very quickly. So you have your new command. You tell it what you want to say when to activate the command. So we'll say here test command. So whenever I say test command, this will happen. And then we can tell it to do various different things. And your best way to explore this is just to click through and see what's available. So different key presses, different modifiers. So if I did H, it will press H whenever I do it. I tell it how long to hold down the key for. The best default is 00100 second for a normal key press. But if you need it held for any reason, for example, when firing a missile in Star Citizen, you tap, which is a 00100 second hold, to lock the missile, and then you hold it, which will be a 2 second, so 02.000 second click to hold it to fire the missiles. So if you want to do missile launching, that's how you do that. We can also simulate mouse stuff, so we can move the mouse to various locations, and we can click various buttons. So don't worry about the pause and recorder, those are just extra fluff stuff. But then we have these. This is where it all gets interesting in the other. So, I mean, you can play around with all of these. I'm not going to mess around with any of these, but these change the way the VoiceAttack itself works. This allows us to say something text-to-speech, or play any sounds. This is where we'll get to running applications. I'll get to all this later. Dictation, a little bit sketchy right now. And then the conditional stuff is advanced. So we'll start out just with some basic stuff. Get some basic feedback. So we'll say, this is the test command. And we can preview this. So if we click preview.
This is the test command.
Also note that you have multiple different voices. You can pick whichever one you like. And this point is also, this checkbox is also very useful. So if you want to say something and then run a command, so that they're not happening at the same time, you can say wait until speech completes before continuing, and basically leave it as that. So So if now we put this command in, we can say OK. Now whenever we, and then done, and whenever we say test command,
This is the test command.
so that gives us some basic commands. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you how to do startup, how to make commands run when you start up the profile. So to do this, we go into the profile itself. Now, it took me a bit to find this, but this little tick box next to the profile name, if we click on this, in here, there's various different options. What we're looking at is execute command each time the profile is loaded. Click on that, we choose the command. We only have one right now, it's a test command. And hit OK. So now if we hit done on that, whenever we load this profile, so if we go back to my profile, there's nothing. If we go back to YouTube,
This is the test command.
that command is run every time it starts up. Now that's super useful if you need to initialize any variables or any stored data. So whenever you load the profile, it sets a baseline for everything. Now let's have a quick look at chaining commands. So chaining commands is where you can call another command from an initial command. So let's modify this, and we'll say so start. We'll call this startup. And then instead of saying the test command, we will say welcome, Captain, because obviously we are
Welcome, Captain.
we're doing a space simulator, so we're the captain of a ship. So we put in the welcome, Captain. So we've changed the startup. Let's say we want to initialize some values. So let's say we want to go into initialize systems, and in here we'd set lots of variables, and we'll get to that when I get to that section of the tutorial. But for now, we're just putting the placeholder sound, and it's always worthwhile sticking in sounds just for debugging. And we'll say initializing systems, which sounds
Initializing systems.
sounds thusly. So we have initialize systems command, which says initializing systems, that would assign lots of new variables and stuff. So now we have that. Whenever we run the startup, just check this in. Each time we want to have startup done. And in the startup, we want to initialize systems. So in here, we go to VoiceAttack action, execute another command, and then we just specify whichever command. And right now, we only have one of the commands, so it's initialize systems. And then wait till the command completes before continuing, which allows you to run various things in sequence. If you want them to run together, you can uncheck that, but it's safer to run them in sequence. So now, whenever we load the profile, it will do the startup, say welcome captain, and it will do the initialize systems and tell me it's initializing the system. So let's just test that real quick. My profile with nothing, and then YouTube is
Welcome, Initializing systems.
So see what happened there? This is because in the startup, the welcome captain, I didn't check that wait until speech completes before continuing command. So it ran both commands at the same time and both speeches at the same time. So it overlaid each other. So if I check wait until completes, save that off, and then try again, that should fix that issue.
Welcome, Captain. Initializing systems.
Done. Okay, so we know how to do commands. We know how to do chaining of commands. There's one other feature which is super powerful that allows us to make the commands we say a lot more specific and dynamic. So I'll do an example of shields. If we want to arrange the shields on our ship in Star Citizen, we use the various number pad keys. Now, I could say just every time shields top, shields bottom, shields front, shields back. But to demonstrate how to use the prefixing and postfixing, I'm going to do them slightly differently. So in here, I want to say, when I say shields, that's the first part of the command. So we have shields left, shields right is a composite command. So if I say shields, I want to specify this as a prefix. We come down here and say it's command prefix, and we call it group shields. I always use the same name here as the prefix because it makes it a lot more logical later on. So we have shields, and in here I want to do a sound. I want to say moving, or what we'll say? We'll say diverting shield power. So every time we do a shield command, it will say diverting shield power. So that's a prefix, and it comes out, it shows shields prefix. Now if we want to add a second part to that command, we can say left. And for this to work with multiple commands, it specifies it by prefix. So I can have power left, shields left, weapons left, whatever I wanted. But here I will just say command suffix to specify that it comes after a prefix, and then specify the shields. So I know that left, this left command is a instance of the shield prefix. And here we will say sounds, say some text to speech, shields, full, let's just say full left shields, just for argument's sake. Just so we can see that the command's working. And I just need to go in here, and for this I need to wait until speech is complete, otherwise it's going to overlap itself, as we saw earlier. Or maybe saw later. I'm doing this slightly out of order on the recording, because I keep missing things. But okay, so now we have a shields command and a left command. The shields is a prefix, the left is a suffix. So that should make one command. So if I say shields left,
diverting shield power.
So see,
full left shields
is recognized a derived command, which is taking the shields prefix and the left suffix. So shields left,
diverting shield power, full left shields.
So both of the things are run. Now if we add a right, it will use the same prefix. So if we type in right, and we say something, full right shields, just for the lulz, and we go to the suffix, specify shields. Now we have two suffixes to the shields, and we can use either, and it will run the commands for both. So shields left,
diverting shield power, full left shields.
And we can also use shields right,
diverting shield power, full right shields.
And the suffix runs for every one of those commands. The prefix runs for every one of those commands, and the suffix is specific to the command you've said, which allows you to do really cool things. I'm sure you can come up with great ways to use that, but it's a very, very useful functionality. Okay, so we're going to have a quick look at storing data now, or storing variables. And I'm going to use my initialized systems, as I mentioned earlier, to store some initial values. So in here, we go to Advanced, set a condition value. Now, condition is what they call variables in this. We're going to call this, what should we do? We will set this up to let us know if VLC media player is running. So VLC running, and we'll have a value of 0 meaning false and 1 being true. And the save value to profile, what this does, it stores it long term. So if you need some stuff persisting between runs, you use save to profile, and it will save this condition globally. So we hit OK, and now we have VLC running. So to remember we have that, we're going to add it to the list. So VLC running is one of our variables. Now when we actually get to the running of the VLC player, that when we start the player, we'll set the value to 1. And if we exit the player, we'll set the value back to 0. So that if we try to run any commands on it, without it being running, it will say music player not loaded or whatever. In the previous section we talked about storing values. This time I want to use it, so I'm going to add a new command, play music, and in here I want it to say, and we're just doing placeholders right now, so say something starting music. So whenever I say play music, it should say starting music. If I close this real quick and hit done and say play music.
Starting music.
Now we have a problem here that if the media player isn't running yet and we run all our play music commands, it's going to have a problem. So in here we can add in a conditional block. So other, advanced, begin a conditional block. Now bear in mind there are other stuff like else to conditional, like jump markers and lots more advanced stuff, and if you want me to go over that stuff as well, comment below the video, let me know what else you want to see, or you can just figure it out for yourselves. It's all pretty simple, but if you want me to go over it more, just give me a comment in the video. Right now we're just going to use a conditional block. Now the conditional block is based off of a condition name. So we saved this earlier. We want to see if the VLC is running. So we'll copy that. We'll add that in as a name. So it will do a check on this numeric condition. Now we can also compare against text. So if the condition has a text value, instead of a numeric value, you can test against a string. But I prefer when I'm doing conditionals like this to do it against numeric. So if the condition is 1, which means if the VLC media player is running, then do whatever's in the block. And this gives us this condition block. We have a begin and an end. Everything between those will run if this is true. So if we've got to move this down, so if you click down you can move that into the block. So now it will basically run the command. It will see if VLC is running. If it is running, if that conditional is true, it will say starting music. Now we could do an advanced add else. Oh, delete. I think the else goes inside, which does it. Or we can just do it with another conditional block. You don't have to go complicated. So we'll do other advanced conditional block. So the same, VLC running. If it equals 0, so if it's false, we're going to add another sound. Say something with text to speak. Music player isn't running. So now, if the VLC player is running, it will say starting music. If it's not running, it'll say music player isn't running. So now, if we say play music, wait a minute. VLC running equals 0. VLC running is. Just do some quick debugging here right now. Sorry about this. Initialize systems. VLC running value to 1. Did I restart it? I have to reload the profile. And this is a good point actually. If you change something in your initialization, make sure you restart the profile.
Welcome, Captain. Initializing systems.
Play music.
Music player isn't running.
There we go. So, a little bit of fault finding, but that worked out well. So now we know that the music player isn't running. We'll need to have a command that we're going to fill in later, but let's say start music player. And in here, we will do some feedback. Starting music player. And then we'll add in just a placeholder here to, like before, set the conditional value. This is our VLC running. I want to set it to true right now. Set the value to 1. Excellent. So now, if we close all that down, and we say play music. Sorry, play music.
Music player isn't running.
Okay, now if we say start music player. Start music player.
Starting music player.
Now we can say it again, it should work out. So play music.
Starting music.
There we go. So this allows us to maintain some state within the profile. Okay, so now we have it. So it starts when it loads up. We have a way to start the music player. We have a way to play music. We have commands for them, but we're not actually loading the music player. So in order to run an external program, and I'll go into how this is working a little bit, but let's actually start the music player. So in here, to run a third-party program, go into Other, Windows, Run an Application. Now in this, you basically just specify an application to run. You can specify any parameters to go with it. You can set a working directory if needed, but you don't need to worry about that for most things. You can specify the Windows style, and this is important later. But right now, for loading something like VLC, it's best just leave it as normal. And this is if you're running something like a script that has a short completion time, and you need to wait for it to finish before you do something else. So for this, we're going to use this. This is our path to load VLC Media Player. So I'm just going to drop that into the path here. And these are the parameters I'm passing. Again, you can find the command line parameters of VLC through the Google, so I'm not going to go over those. But what we have right here, I'm going to talk about this later, but this lets us turn on the telnet functionality of VLC, and the -- random parameter specifies that the shuffle forever setting is turned on. So when it starts, it picks a random song that's been loaded from the playlist, and it randomizes all the song order. If you want them to come in the correct order from start to finish of the playlist, then just take off this random flag. Now if we hit test, we have a VLC media player pop up, which is awesome. So now it will start music player, it will run the application, and then it will set VLC running to true. So now we can add in the stop music player command. Go to Other, go to Windows, go to stop a process by name. And now in here we can go to the drop down list, we can type VLC, take us down to the bottom, and there's VLC. So we specify VLC, hit OK, and now we have the closed VLC process. And I took out my text to speech, so stopping music player as a text thing. We want that to say it first, so move up to the top of the list because everything is sequential, and wait for it to finish. So that should work out fine. So now we have stop music player, stop music player,
Stopping music player.
and that kills the VLC. So now we can start the music player and we can stop the music player to load and unload them. Now if you wanted that to be part of the initialization, we can just go in here. We will add a VoiceAttack, execute another command, and we'll pick the start music player. And it executes that, and that automatically sets the VLC running to 1. If for some reason this fails, then it will still be 0, which is good. So if we close this now, and we switch profiles, just to test things out.
Welcome, Captain. Initializing music player.
So here we have that bug again, where we've forgot to say initializing systems and wait until speech is complete. Done. I'm leaving these bugs in the video just so you can see the process and see what happens if you get the same issue. My profile, and then YouTube.
Welcome, Captain. Initializing systems. Starting music player.
There we go. Okay, so now we're getting on to the juice of it, how to set up the VLC media player. So the way this works, VLC has a bunch of interfaces that you can interact with, which allows you to do VLC media streaming stuff. So you can run VLC on like a server, you can stream content from it, you can connect to it with web interfaces and things and control all the stuff. But we're using the telnet interface because it's super easy just to connect to, send some commands, and then end the connection. And this is why we added the parameters over here, the extra INTF, or the extra interface telnet, which tells it when it loads VLC to load the telnet interface. So we can connect to the telnet interface using the default password admin. I know, it's awesome. You can set a new password for it if you want, if you're worried about the security of running that VLC on your network. But you can connect to it and then issue any of those VLC commands, and that allows you to basically control the music. So we're going to run through, we're going to set up a bunch of these commands right now. But first of all, we need to see how we're actually going to interact with the VLC. So I'm going to load up my documents, and in here I have this Python script which I have created. So I'm going to open it up in idle just so you can see the code and how simple it is. It's super simple. So in here we have some basic Python. Actually, we don't need the time. I'm going to take that out before I send it out to everyone. I will be connecting the script. I will be putting the link to download the script on the video. But it's super simple. You can essentially just type it out yourself. Bear in mind that you will need to install Python. I'll put a link down for installing Python as well. You'll basically need to go to python.org. I think it's python.org. And download the 2.7 version of Python, not the 3, the 2.7. It's a lot more stable. But anyway, you'll install that. Include the when you're installing, on the bottom option, you'll have the option where it's saying to install everything. Scroll down and make sure you specify that it adds it to the path. And then you'll possibly need to reboot your computer to make sure the path updates, or restart your just re-log in. Should be fine. Anyway, we have this script, and just, you may not understand Python, but I'll talk through what it's doing anyway, just in case. So first of all, we're taking the command from the command line. So this allows us to type, and if I go over here, if we typed in VLC command.py, and then type in vol up 10, for example, it will take all of the parameters that pass to it, which in this case is vol up 10, and it will turn that into a command string, which you can then use to pass to the telnet interface. This is just basically doing a telnet connection, so connecting to the telnet interface of VLC media player on the default port of 4212. It's reading until it gets the password prompt. It's then sending the admin password. It's then waiting until it gets the little enter your command prompt, which is a little triangle, and then it's just sending whatever the command was you passed to the code, and then it's closing the connection. It's super simple, but that just allows us to run Python commands. So in here, let's say we want to load our awesome mix. So we'll add in a command, load awesome mix. And then we simply have to do a Windows, run the application. We specify in here, so we go to Documents, VLC command. So this is the script, and we want to play Awesome Mix. So in here we need to add a song or directory to playlist. So let's add, and we need the music directory. So C:\/ users, which is my user account, music, I think. Let me just double check that directory. C users, belch, music, then Guardians. For my awesome Guardians of the Galaxy music track. Now if I put in a specific file, it would add that one file. If I put a directory, it puts all music from that directory into the playlist. And that's fine. So now if we hit test, we have music. Let me stop that real quick. Now we saw there was a little window pop up that happened there. This is where this window style is important. If that window pops up, it's likely to throw you out of the game if you're full screen. So that's a problem. So on these where we're passing commands, we need to make sure we specify hidden. And this allows that when we run it, nothing pops up, and we're all good. And then it's also worth, in case something messes up and it tries to run it multiple times, wait till the launch application exits for continuing. Because it's a short script, that's fine. So now we have load awesome mix as a command. So whenever I say load awesome mix, so we're good to go. We were able to load the music player. We're also able to load in a playlist, which allows us to specify the music we want to play. One quick gotcha I forgot to mention in the last section. If you're adding new stuff to a playlist and you want to clear the playlist first, so you have a very specific small amount of songs that are currently playing, you can add in an additional Windows command here, run application, VLC command, and just use clear, which is one of the VLC commands over here. Hidden run. What that does, it clears the current playlist. And if we put that first in the list, each time you load this playlist, it will clear the playlist first. It will then load in all the songs, and you're good to go. So now let's put it all together. We can load the music. Now all we got to do is add in loads of extra commands. We can add in new commands to pause music will be as simple as saying Windows run application VLC command pause, hidden and wait. Done. And then we can have a resume music, which will be as simple as new application, same little awesome script, play, hidden and wait. Then maybe you want to do a next song. Windows run application, awesome script. Next, hidden and wait, and then previous. And then obviously we can do it with the volume and stuff, but you guys can play around with that. Last song. You can play around with that as much as you like, but I'm just showing how simple it is to quickly throw all these commands together. Prev. Hidden. And done. So now we have a pretty awesome pile of music. Also, it's worth noting in here that this can get quite unwieldy as you get lots of commands in here. So it's worth for each one. It's worth for each one specifying a category. So in here we'll say music, for example, and we can specify that music. We can specify that category for all the music-related things, and it will group them together for us. So that's super handy. So yeah, so let's just test this real quick. So we have load awesome mix, pause song, pause music, resume music, next song, last song, and there we have it. We have full power and control of the VLCs, and it's awesome. So all the links and all the information is down below. Feel free to grab it all and have some fun. Now, thank you if you've enjoyed this tutorial. If it's been useful for you at all, please like it, share it. Please hit that subscribe button. This is a new channel for my new Twitch stream, so I'm really trying to grow it. Just over 1,000 followers on Twitch, so I'd love you to join that awesome growing community there. And I need to get at least 500 subscribers on YouTube, I think, to get a custom channel name, which is going to be awesome. So please hit that subscribe button. Please share this video if it's been useful to you and you think it's going to be useful to anyone else. If you have any comments or any suggestions, post them down below. If you want me to show you how to do anything else with VoiceAttack, add a comment down below. Otherwise, just have fun, enjoy Star Citizen or Elite Dangerous, whatever you're playing, enjoy VoiceAttack, and have a great time. And I'll catch you guys in the verse. Thanks, guys.